how the build went, costs that were involved, first impressions, and modifications that we know we definitely got to make. Hi everyone, it's Keith from HomeRight. Today it is November 14th, and behind me is a hobby greenhouse that Lori and I just recently purchased. I'd like to talk to you about how the build went, costs that were involved, first impressions, and modifications that we know we definitely got to make.
The first part of the greenhouse has started. Keith has gone ahead, got some crushed gravel, put that down, put the wooden base down, and also put the base part of the greenhouse just to measure it out for the structure, the wooden structure at the bottom. The next phase he has to do is go ahead and get the rebar, put that into the wood, and then also get a little bit more of the crushed gravel to fill in for inside of the greenhouse.
It arrived in 2 boxes, one for all the framework pieces. It was wrapped real nice. I already started building the base, so that's why it's kind of spread out here a little bit, but it was packaged well. Another nice thing is each one of the pieces of the framework are all labeled, so far directions have been pretty simplistic in getting them put together. And then in the other box here is where we have all of the panels that I'll deal with after the frame is up.
The first thing Keith started doing was working on the back panel. Next he moved to the front panel, then started working with the window on the top. Then Keith started working on the sides, the roof, and the final part was adding the door.
For the foundation we went with 4x6s, and while this is somewhat of a flat area, we still ended up going, as you can see, we were 1 4x6 for the most part here, and as we work out to the end we build up to the 2 4x6s. The other thing that we did was on the inside when we built this frame was attach this mending plate to both the base of the greenhouse, and then we also screwed it in to our foundation. We put a total of 4 of these in, once again probably 2 feet or so from the front, and then again 2 feet or so from the back. Is that we tried to make it fairly close to where the front or the sides were flush to the inside here of the greenhouse. That way when I attached those mending plates it was pretty easy and flat. So to hold these 4x6s together we use these 6-inch screws. Just needed one to go in between, and then the other thing we did was to make sure we used some 1/2-inch rebar. We drilled through both and then ran down there 4 rebars along the side and 2 on each back, and these are 4-foot pieces of rebar. Probably didn't need that much, but my choices were either a 2-foot or a 4-foot, and the 2-foot was just not going to be enough to give it good support, one to hold the wood together but also to anchor into the ground. One thing that I definitely wish that maybe this would have had here is a better situation where the top panel meets here right with the side panel. Now, I understand that you need to slide these panels in, but if there was some sort of a cover that could have gone over the 2 and overlapped the 2, I think it would have been a better seal here. First thing I had to do, because these panels were just flopping around, was that I had to run a bead of silicone underneath these panels to help hold them down. That was both here at the top and on the side, and definitely up there at the ridge. Now every one of these panels we silicone both on the outside and the inside, and even doing so there was a couple of spots you can see some condensation just got stuck here in between, but we tried our best. Ended up needing about 3 tubes of silicone. One of the spots that we've got here, and we've got it up also up there at the roof, is when you put in these connection pieces, there's that gap right there. I really was kind of hoping, I would have liked to have seen this go all the way to this metal. So I've got silicone in here because if I didn't have that silicone in here, it was just a big gap letting water right on in, both there and on the side. These side support pieces, both at the top and here right where the ceiling meets the side, these you connect together, and you can see through the silicone there's some bolts that hold it in place. One thing I didn't like about this is I wish there was something that would just make this a little bit more weatherproof. And it's not really here on the side. I was able to do that well with the silicone, but up there at the top, you really had to silicone that in because it was just, it would let the rain in if you didn't do it. Panels were all really thin and more flimsy, but adding that silicone definitely helped it here and give it a lot more rigidity. Now these kit greenhouses are really lightweight, so I would highly suggest you do something to help hold it down, and what we found works best is this cable tie that I picked up. I think this one I got at Lowe's, and it was about a 30-foot kit. I think that was about $20. And then we just ran an eye bolt into our 4x6, and then we just got this threaded hook connection that I can tighten it up when I need to. We put two of these on, one there, about 2 feet from the front, and another one 2 feet from the back. And when we tightened this on, it definitely helped stabilize this greenhouse, because without it, it was pretty shaky. So the total project was done over the course of about 3 days. Took me 1 full day just to dig and set the foundation and make sure that was level. The greenhouse itself took me probably about 5 hours to build by myself. It's a 2-man project, would be better if you got it, but it was just me that day. And then silicone, as I said, you just take your time. So I waited until day 3 and I put on the silicone. It was about, I'd say 2 hours just to do the outside, and then it was about another hour and a half to do the inside. So the build was pretty straightforward and easy. The instruction manual is mostly just pictures, but all of the parts here are labeled. So that was pretty easy and straightforward. That being said, I would highly recommend to take all of your parts and separate them out. I did not. I was just pulling them out of the box as I needed. But I know specifically there was one of those cross pieces that you see right in there. Those were all labeled to be number 19. Well, one of them had a sticker of number 24 on it. So I had to definitely make sure that I didn't need 2 24s. And when you finally look at them, you'll see there's a big enough difference between the two as to what goes where. Didn't do a final tighten until I'd made sure that a whole section was complete, whether it was the side walls or the front walls. So I just put the screws in there with the nuts, just held them in place lightly, and then came back and tightened them once everything was set up and in place. One of the first modifications we definitely needed to add was this window vent. It's temperature sensitive here, and by just turning this rod left or right, it'll start to open for us when it gets to be about 70 degrees inside, and it'll close down when it's probably about 60 degrees, 65 degrees. But you can keep setting that temperature gauge that I was just talking about by adjusting this threaded piston right up there. Another definite that we needed to add was this electric heater. It's also got a fan option on it, which helps out with the airflow in here. And we have found in the first few days of using it, it's helping with some of the humidity issues that we're still battling here in the greenhouse. Now this electric heater is hooked in to that digital thermostat. So once the temperature falls below 65 degrees, this heater kicks on. And that thermostat It's just something that we hang up there. We've got these small little solar fans. We just leave them on here all the time, but there is an on-off switch if you want it. There's about 16 feet worth of cable that I just strung up and over here. We've got the other fan right there, and then in the back here I drilled a small hole through the plastic out to the other side, and that's where we have it attached to our small solar panel. Now these are not, they're only going to operate when the sun's hitting them because there's no battery attached to this solar panel. For each 2 fans there's this 22-watt solar panel, and to attach that I just ran that on a 2x4, screwed it in there at the foundation. One of the biggest modifications that we ended up making here, after a couple of days, we realized the humidity level needed quite a bit of airflow to be venting the air out of the greenhouse. So we installed 2 of the solar fans here, built this small frame to hold the fans in, and then on this polycarbonate panel, it was real easy to cut with the utility knife. So first thing I did was just build the frame, and before I installed these fans from the back side, I just used that as a jig to cut out the panel. I'll show you what it looks like on the other side. So in order to help seal things up, what I did was, this is a dryer vent, and I just took the doors off of it, framed that such that I could screw it into the wood here. Then I just have a piece of screening here with some waterproof tape around here. And last thing that I still have to do is just run a bead of silicone around the outside to waterproof it. Another item we added was this thermostat and humidity sensor. We've got it here. There's a couple of AAA batteries in the back, and then we've got a panel inside the house so we can read the temperature. But the one I liked about this was that I've also got the ability to read it out here. For the electric there, for the heater, I ended up running the cord down here underneath the 4x6, and then just made a little homemade cover to help keep the rain off of that connection point. This hobby greenhouse, which is 6x10, I purchased on Wayfair, and that was delivered for $350 on sale. Then now the next big ticket item is obviously the foundation. Now everyone can have a different style in their foundation, but the one that we chose, using the 4x6s, using the rebar to hold those 4x6s down, and the stone that we got delivered, which was about a yard of stone, ended up running us just about $300 more. Now to add to that, you got the tie down straps that we have, as well as the silicone. So in that you have about another $75 to add to it. So if you take that 300, 350, we're at 650, 75, you're about $725 to $750 to get the basic setup done if you were going to do it exactly this way. Now, when you start adding some of the bells and whistles like the heaters, the fans, the automatic vent, then you're going to start adding to that possibly as much as another $300+. So no matter what, it's not an inexpensive purchase, but I know you can go with some other options. And in fact, on an upcoming video, we ended up purchasing one of those Amazon greenhouses for $160. And I'm going to do as part of comparison between the two and see how things go. Product came in good shape. We did have some issues with some bends in the grooves, but nothing that couldn't be solved with a putty knife. And some of the polycarbonate panels here that had some bends in the corners, but once again, that was expected for, it's a $350 greenhouse. I did not expect it to be absolutely perfect. We're hoping to get a decent lifespan out of this. If I can get 3-4 years out of it, I'll be happy, and then after that we'll build the greenhouse that we want exactly. So in the meantime, we're going to try to use this to the best of our ability. At the end of the day, one of the things that we want to do is starting to propagate and sell plants. So this hobby greenhouse is going to allow us to tinker with that a little bit further. Thanks so much for watching, guys. You got any questions or suggestions, put them down in the comments section below, and we'll see you on the next video.